Hey everybody, Sergei here from beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina, and today we're going to be creating this matchup sports bumper entirely in Blender. And I'm going to try to do something different, something we don't normally do on this channel. I usually put out stuff that's, quick to the point, and I edit them very heavily. I add keyboard shortcuts, the graphics, and all that stuff, but that takes time, and it usually slows me down, and it takes time for me to put out tutorials. But I'm going to try something different. We're just going to do this tutorial completely live. Obviously, it's not a live for you guys, but it is live here. It's going to be live, raw, unedited. So you're going to see all my mistakes, and maybe it'll be useful for you. Now, it is a warning. It's probably going to be a pretty long video, so I apologize for that. But we're in it together. Let's get to it. So I'm going to stop this, and let's go into Blender. Here we go. So we are in Blender. I'm going to start fresh here. So this is what Blender looks like when you first open it up. It's a cube. And by the way, I'm going to go kind of fast. I know I usually take my time, over explain things, but I'm assuming you've already watched some of my Blender tutorials, and I've already explained, the edit mode, all that stuff. So today I'm going to go kind of fast. All right, so we have a camera, we have the light, we have the cube. That's what you see when you open Blender. I'm going to call this collection Scene Objects. And I'm going to select camera and the light, both of them selected, shift select, and then I'm going to press M to move them into a new collection. We're going to call this one camera and lights. Okay, so now we have two collections in the outliner. You want to stay organized. So we're going to go to the front view. You can either press 1 on the numpad, or if you don't have numpad, I realize most keyboards don't have that. So you can press the tilde key. It's a squiggly key on the keyboard in the upper left corner. And then you'll see all these different views you can go to. You can go to front view, left view, top view, right view. So we went to the front view right here, right? That's where we are. All right, in here we have the cube. I'm going to select this. We're going to go to modifiers, and we're going to go to bevel. So as you can see, we can bevel this thing. We're going to set it to width. We're going to say 0.02. Let's set the angle to 30 and material to 0. Okay, so we have that figured out. I'm going to make sure that it's shade. I'm going to right click shade flat. I don't need any smoothness, so that's good. It's going to have like a sharp line, so when the light hits it, it's going to have like a pretty good highlight for us, so that's good. We're going to go back to the front view. I'm going to duplicate this, Shift D to duplicate it, and then you can select the move tool and kind of move it. If you hold Control, you can kind of snap it as you move, so I'm going to place it right about here. What is it? Negative 1.2, that's what I got on the Z. So I'm going to select this, press Tab to go into edit mode. And I'm going to press S, or press A to select everything. Make sure everything's selected, and then press S to scale, and then press Z to scale on Z only. So right now I can type on the numpad. I can say 0.2 and press enter to click away. Now, if you don't have numpad, you can just go over here to this area and type 0.2. Okay, so we have this shape. That's great. We're going to duplicate it again, Shift D. So a lot of the things I'll be doing is very repetitive. So we're going to move it up, press Control to kind of snap it to the top right here. And I'm going to size it down. So I'm going to press Tab to go into edit mode. We're going to press S to scale, and then we're going to scale on Z. Press Z. So we're going to scale half the size. So we're going to say 0.5 on Z on the numpad. Press enter. And again, on Z, I type 0.5. And that's what we get here. That's beautiful. Press Tab to go back into the object mode. We're going to duplicate it one more time. Press Shift D, click away. And then we're going to move this, press Control to kind of snap it. And there you go. We got first element built here. Now, next, we need to add some kind of text in here. And to do that, I'm going to select this area right here. Press Tab to go into edit mode. I'm going to press 3 on my keyboard here to go into face mode, or you can just click on this icon right here. So I can select this front face, and I want this 3D cursor, that's what it's called, to be in the center of this shape. So to do that, just press Shift S, and then I can say, hey, cursor to selected. When you do that, it's going to basically drop it in the center of it, which is great. So now I want to go into the object mode. Again, you can either do it in here, object mode, or you can use a tab keyboard shortcut. So press Tab, boom, now you are in object mode. So we can bring in text. Now, because our cursor is right here, that's where the text is going to end up. So to do that, you can either go to Add, you'll see all these options, or you can use like a keyboard shortcut, Shift A. And we're going to click on text. Boom, it drops it right there. Now, rotation on X, I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees like that. Radius, let's take it to 0.5, so half of it. All right, so it's looking better. Now, obviously, we have to do more adjustments. We're going to go to text options in here. I'm going to collapse everything, and we're going to go to, let's go to font for a second. We're going to pick a font right here. Just click on this icon. We're going to search for a new font. Let's go to thumbnails. Let me kind of resize this so you can see better. All right. So in here, we're going to search for impact. And here's the impact. And the reason why I'm going with impact, because it's free. It's available to most of you guys. So you can follow along. You kind of have to double click. Make sure you see impact right here first. And then you click on open. And there you go. It's loaded up. It looks different. That's great. So then we're going to go to geometry. Well, actually, let's go to paragraph. And we're going to set on vertical to center. And then also on horizontal to center as well. Then we're going to go and geometry. So extrude, we can extrude this thing. And let's see. Let's go to something like 0.05. That looks good. Now we're going to do some adjustments in here. We're going to add some bevel, and it's called depth in here. So bevel depth. And if you hold shift and move on this, you can see we can set it to something like 0.05, like that. So you can see there's some bevel. Now I don't want any subdivisions in there or any resolution. So I want to take it to 0. So it's flat. We're saying consistent. I just want it to be flat. Obviously it's not popping out really well, but here's another thing. When you do bevel, like it makes your text bigger. So if you want it to stay the same size, you can go over here to offset and hold shift and drag. You can offset it. So if you did depth 0.005, then you can offset it to something negative 0.005. You basically kind of cancel it out, and just like a workaround for that. So that's looking good. Now the only thing is, by default, text is always like trying to make it like a shade smooth, and it doesn't give you that flat look that we get here, right? It's just trying to kind of make everything smooth, and you can't really fix it in here like you can with objects. If you select this object, you can go to normals and you can kind of auto smooth here and set it, but you can't really do that with text. You don't have that option. But there is an not an add-on, modifier. You can go over here and you can click on this edge split. When you do that, it's kind of the same concept here. You can see 30-degree angle. So it makes it flat, and that's good for me. So I'm going to go to the front view, press 1 on numpad, or again, remember the tilde key. You can go to front view. All right, so in here, we're going to select this text. We're going to press tab key to go to edit mode, and we're going to press Control A to select everything. We're going to type I want to type Ukramedia, but it's Ukraine. Okay, and that's going to be the first team. It's going to be the home team. And then you can use left and right arrow keys. So you can adjust the kerning. If you hold Alt and move on the left and right arrow keys, you can kind of adjust your kerning here. It's probably too much here. Something like that. You kind of just want to maintain somewhat of a same distance between the letters. Anyway, something like this is going to work for me. I'm happy with this. Now I'm going to go again, front view, press 1 on the numpad, and I'm going to select everything in here. We're going to move this. So I'm going to click on this and move it and press Control to kind of snap it. We're going to snap it right over here. Now, here's what I want to do. I want to take all of this and move it to where it's halfway between this and that. So you can see it's negative 1.1, but instead of 1 right here, I'm going to say 0.5. So halfway, and watch this, boom, it's going to snap it. That's good. And by the way, if for some reason you click away, again, you can press F9 and you can bring this back up. So F9 will do it for you. All right, so we have the first side. So we need to add some kind of element in here and then take this and duplicate it and put it on the other side. So to add like a shape right here to kind of, it's going to play the role of a divider. We're going to select this cube and press Shift D to duplicate it. See, it's duplicated. Now, the cool thing about Blender, where if you move things around and rotate it, for example, if I want this to be in the center of the scene right here, I can just press like right here. I'm going to select this, go to transform properties. You can see location has got values, rotation has values. But what if I want to quickly zero it out? Like I want to reset everything. Well, there's an easy thing, like a shortcut that you can use. Select this, press Alt G, boom, it's going to reset everything to 0, X, Y, and Z on location. And to reset everything here, you just press Alt R like this, boom, and it resets it. So that's beautiful. I'm going to go back to the front view, press 1 on the numpad, and in here, we're going to select this, press Tab to go into edit mode. Make sure you are in a face mode, press 3. I'm going to select everything, press A, and then hit S to scale. Now, I want to scale on X, side to side, so press X on your keyboard, and now it's only going to scale to X. And I'm going to say 0.05, like this. And if you don't have numpad, where I type my value, you can just do it right here, X 0.05. Again, numpad, man, that thing is so useful when you work in Blender. It speeds up your time big time. So I'm going to select, or make sure everything's selected, press A, hit S to scale again. But this time we're going to go on Z, which is up and down. Press Z on your keyboard, and I'm going to hold Control to kind of snap it like this. So Z 1.4. And now we have a divider. So we're going to get out of the edit mode, press tab again, or you can go over here and go to object mode. So now we have a divider. Now we want to take this and put it on the other side. So we're going to go back to the front view, press 1. It's a lot of keyboard shortcuts. So we're going to select all of these objects and then press Shift D to duplicate. And then you can either click away and just drag it like that and press Control to kind of drag it like, you know, it snaps, boom, and perfect. So now we have two of the same things. We didn't have to recreate everything. I'm going to press 1 again to go to the front view. Now, instead of Ukraine, we're going to type, go tab to go into edit mode, press Control A to select everything. We're going to type Italy. If I can type today. Okay. And then we're going to go deep into it right here. And we're going to adjust the kerning. Remember, left and right arrow keys, and press Alt to kind of adjust the kerning. And by the way, fun fact, the same way we're adjusting the kerning here in Blender, it's exactly the same in After Effects. So if you work in After Effects, you want to adjust your kerning, just press Alt and left and right arrow key. So something like this is wonderful. And you might be wondering, like, why did you pick Ukraine and Italy? Well, I picked Ukraine because I'm originally from Ukraine, hence Ukramedia. I was born there, and I moved here when I was 12 with my twin brother and my whole family. And so that's like the root of me and my family. So that's why I went with Ukraine. But I was going to pick US for the second team, but I was going to create, you know, I created the flags myself because I wanted to give it away as assets. And it's just quicker to create Ukrainian flag. It's just literally 2 colors. And the Italian flag is easy to create as well. And I have a friend, Marco, from Italy. So, but US flag takes some time to create. So sorry, US. I love you guys. Hey, I live here now. So it just took me a little time to create it. So I said, forget this, Ukraine and Italy. So that's why I picked it, in case you were wondering. Okay, so we have pretty much the core of it modeled. Now we're going to add some more objects. We're going to select this one right here, and we're going to duplicate it. Shift D. Again, a lot of this stuff is repetitive. So Shift D, and then I clicked away so I can kind of drag it. And I'm going to press Control to kind of snap it. And we're going to take this object, we're going to select this, go to the transform properties. On X here, we're going to set it to 0. So like that. All right, then I'm going to select this, press tab to go into edit mode, press A to select everything, hit S to scale, and then we're going to scale on X. So then press Control to kind of snap it. And we're going to do this. We're going to click away. It's 2.0, but we're going to say 2.05. Boom. All right, so we have that object. We're going to do this. We're going to create 6 or 5 more copies of this. So 6 altogether. And I don't want to be duplicating this. So what we're going to do, we're going to use an array. Select this. We're going to go to modifiers. Let me kind of hide everything here. And we're going to add a modifier called array. And notice it wants to go to the, I can add more copies, but it wants to go to the right. But I'm going to set this to 0. On X, we want to go, well, not Y, but Z. We want to go up. So we're going to say 1. And 1 means like the entire size of an object. So 1, as you can see, it already added 1. So we're going to add, let's do 6. Okay, that's good. And then we're going to do this. We're going to offset it on Y. So I'm going to click and drag and hold Shift to kind of slow it down a little bit. We're going to go negative 0.05 forward like this. Boom, boom, boom. Great. So now we're starting to do something. So normally I would just leave array as is because you know, that you can come back and edit it, but I want to bake it, or I want to apply this. So when you hit apply, basically you lose all the options. You can't edit anymore. And now if you press tab key, you can see they're all separate objects. You can select faces. Before you couldn't because they were just instances of that one object. Well, the reason why I did that, I'm going to press tab to go back into object mode because I'm going to need to apply a different material to this face. So I have to have all of them kind of baked or collapsed, whatever you want to call this. So, all right, so we create this portion. Now I want to take this and kind of duplicate it and put it on the bottom side. So I want to mirror that. And to do that, we're going to use a modifier called mirror. So we're going to do this. We're going to select this again. We're going to go to modifiers, add a modifier. We're going to call, or this one right here, click on mirror. And right here we say, hey, we want to mirror on Z. Remember, Z is right here, so it's up and down. And right away, you can see it mirrors it, but it mirrors it based on the origin of your object. If you leave this by, a blank, but you can add a mirror object. And in our case, I want the mirror object to be this object right here, because the center of it is, the origin of it is in the center. So it will be like a mirror, right? It will mirror it to the other side based on the origin of that object. So let's select this. Let's go to modifiers, right? We have our mirror right here, and we're going to, let's zoom in so we can have a better, okay. We're going to click on this and just touch this like that. Boom. And there you go. Saved us time. So the cool thing about it, you can move the center object. You can see it will always adjust. So that's awesome. All right. So we have that. Now we need to do the same kind of setup to the right and left side. So I'm going to go to the front view, press 1, and we're going to keep doing the same stuff we've been doing. I mean, a lot of it is repetitive. So we're going to select this object, press Shift-D to duplicate it. And I'm going to click away immediately. And then I'm going to select this and kind of move and press Control to place it right about here. So what is it? On X 1.1. And then I'm going to select this, press Tab to go into edit mode, press A to select everything, S to scale, and we're going to scale on X. So press X key, and then we're going to type 0.1. Perfect. Look at that. I love it. All right, so now we have it fixed right here, but I want it to be extending all the way to the top. So while we have everything selected, we're going to press S again to scale, but this time we want to go up and down, so we're going to press Y. We want to scale, or not Y, Z. I always get mixed up because in other software, Y is usually up. In Blender, Z is up. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Y is always up, and I always get it confused. So let me undo this. So let me zoom out a little bit. So press S, and then we're going to scale on Z. Remember, Z, not Y. And then press Control to kind of snap it. Boom. That's perfect. So we have the right length and width. We're going to press Tab to go back into object mode. And we're going to use an array to create multiple copies. We need 10 copies altogether for this one. So let me kind of hide all of this. Let's select this. We're going to go to array. And this time it's actually working right because it's going on the X. That's exactly what we want. We want 10 copies. That's good. And remember, we need to offset it on the Y just like we did here. So hold Shift and slide to the left until you see negative 0.05. That's good. But this time I don't need to bake this one. Like I don't need to collapse or apply this array because it's fine as is. But we do need to mirror this to the other side. And it's the same concept. We're going to add a modifier called mirror right here. And then we're going to select where, like the object that we want to mirror. So this right here. So boom, click on that. There you go. And that's how easy it is to model this. Essentially, we are done modeling everything. Now, the only thing we need to do, because when we are animating the camera, like when we get to that, it's going to go like from here, woof, right? And then we're going to be looking up at it like something like that. And it's this right here area will be visible. And I'm going to set it to transparent, and I don't want it to be transparent. So we need to place some kind of an object at the top, just a simple plane that kind of fills the gap there. And to do that, we're going to do this. So cursor is right there. We need to put it in the center of our scene. So I'm going to press Shift S, and then we're going to click on this cursor to world origin. Boom, it drops it right there. You know, cursor is how we bring objects in Blender. So where it's at is very important. I mean, you can move it manually like this. Or by the way, if you have the move tool, I think it's Shift and left right click. Yeah, we'll do the same thing. Just a fun fact. But again, Shift S, and let's go to cursor to world origin, and it drops it right there. And we're going to bring in a plane. So let's do Shift A, and we're going to go to Mesh Plane. Now in here, we're going to say 20. Might be a bit much. Let's go 10. Yeah, that's good. 10 is good. Now, I'm going to go into it. We're going to press Tab to go into Edit Mode, and we're going to press G to move, and then move it on Z. Press Z, and it's going to go up, and press Control to kind of snap it. So let's go to like 5 on Z, something like that. Now press Tab to get out of the edit mode. And the beautiful thing, because we moved it in the edit mode, the origin stayed in the same place. So now if I select this, go to modifiers and add a mirror modifier, and we'll say on Z, boom, it will automatically drop it right there because the origin is the mirror like distance, right? It just mirrors it to the other side. So that seemed to work for it. We might have to adjust this. In fact, let's do this right now. I'm going to select this, press Tab, and make sure you press A to select everything. Hit S to scale, and we're going to scale on X. Let's type 2, just twice the size, just to be safe that when we do this, that it's hidden, everything's covered right there. We might need to adjust later on, but for right now, that's going to work. We're going to press tab to get out of the edit mode. We are in object mode. And we're almost there. Let's do some housekeeping because right now, everything is a mess here. So we're going to do this. We're going to select this object, shift select that one, shift select this one and this one, but not the text because it's important. So now we have everything selected. We're going to move everything into a new collection. So press M on your keyboard and we're going to say new collection and we're going to call this one. So here's the thing. In US, I worked at Fox Sports and they had to explain this to me. So in US, the first team that's listed anywhere, like let's say Manchester United versus Arsenal, right? Well, the first team in US is always the away team. And then the second team listed is the home team, because the way they look at it is Manchester United at Arsenal or whatever, or Chelsea. Well, in Europe, I'm assuming Europe, but just everywhere else, it's usually the home team is displayed first. So it's usually home team and then away team. So I don't know where to go here. So I'm just going to go with the way I was used to. So it's going to be the home team and away team. So we need to make a decision. That's going to be away team. So the reason why I'm saying all this is because we need to label this collection away and not the home team. Now, it might mess some people up, but that's what we're going to go with. Away, we're going to press OK. And now all of these 4 objects are in a new collection called away. That's good. Now we're going to do the same thing for home. So select the first one, shift select the other 3. We're going to press M to move it into a new collection. We're going to call this one home. All right. Now the reason why we didn't move this into home, because we're going to be using animation nodes to animate everything. And we're going to be animating these objects, and based on what collection they are in, we're going to say, hey, from the home collection, we're going to animate all these objects inside the home collection. But the text, I don't want it to be in that collection because the origin of it is different. So we're just going to parent to this object. It will still animate the text, but it's not going to mess us up later on. It'll make more sense as we go forward. But I just want to let you know that it's not a mistake. I did it on purpose. Okay, so let's do this. We do need to offset some of these things. So right now it's looking flat in here, like there's no depth. And if you design any kind of 3D stuff, especially like sports graphics, like at Fox Sports, we're always about making things big and showing depth, because if you're going to do 3D, might as well overdo it. Show enough depth, because at that point, if you're doing 3D and you're not showing depth, then why are you doing it in 3D? You could have done it in After Effects, right? You don't need it. But if you're going to do 3D, overdo it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to add some depth. We're going to select this one, shift select that one. So we have both of them selected. We're going to press 3 to go into the side or right view, I believe. So if you don't have numpad, I press 3. You can press the tilde key and I believe it's right. Yeah. So right, and then press or click on this and then hold control to kind of snap it to this. Okay. Then we're going to do the same thing for that. Select first one, shift select that one, go to 3 and hold control, snap it to the second one and go to 1, select this one, 3. That's why I like numpad. You see how quickly I can move around? I mean, it's beautiful. So then we can go here, select this, shift select that one, and that one, press 3, and we can just move it once. Anyway, I can do this much faster, but because I'm trying to explain to you, it seems so much slower. All right, so we have something interesting. We have everything modeled. Now, the next thing I want to do is the camera. So we're going to position the camera. So I want the camera to be in the center of this origin. Remember, Alt-G, boom, it will reset the location. Alt-R will reset the rotation. So now I can move on this and press Control to kind of snap it. We're going to move it about here. So -4 on Y. And then we're going to look up. So make sure you go to Transform and you'll see all these options. On rotation, we're going to say 90 degrees. So we're looking up at it. And then I'm going to press 0 to go into camera view. But again, if you don't have numpad, it's the tilde key and view camera right here. Boom. Now we're seeing what the camera is seeing. Obviously, it's not seeing all of that stuff. So we're going to select the camera. We're going to go to camera options here, and we're going to play with the focal length. So we're going to set this to something like, well, 20 is good. Yeah, 20. So yeah, it's given us everything we need. And now I'm going to do this. So I'm going to get out of this, just move around. We're going to add. So I'm going to select this right here, this collection, because when you, whatever, or if you have a collection selected, and when you bring stuff in, it's going to automatically put it in there. So we're going to make sure the the 3D cursor. I always want to call it anchor point, but 3D cursor, you want to make sure it's in the center of your scene. And then we're going to press Shift A to bring in an empty. So an empty, and if you don't know what an empty is, if you come from After Effects like me, an empty is just like a null object. You won't see it in the final render, but it's there to help you to kind of rig things. So an empty, you can pick any of them. I'm going to go with plain. So here it is. We can kind of crank it up so we can see it. So maybe like 5. It's humongous. Okay, so here it is. And we're going to, as you can see, it drops it right there. We're going to double click on it. We're going to call it camera control. Okay, and we're going to select this camera, hold shift, and click and drag and place it in there. Now make sure you hold shift. So now basically this camera is like a child of this null, and the null is the parent. And what that means, if you select it right and go to transform properties, you can rotate the null and the camera will rotate with it. It's a beautiful thing. That's how I animate a lot of my things. Like at Fox Sports, when we create any kind of segment titles and stuff like that, man, I just use that all the time because you can animate that and then have animation with the camera. It's just super handy. All right, so we're gonna press 0 on the numpad to go to camera view, or the tilt key again, this right here. So boom. And we're gonna select this camera control null, and we're gonna go to, or not a null, it's an empty, empty, I'm sorry. And we're gonna rotate it on X like this. Now we're gonna look at it from like 30-degree angle. Remember, when you design sports graphics or really any kind of broadcast graphics, you want to make things huge. And one way you can do it is by just lowering the camera, and it just makes things much bigger. And sometimes some of the tricks I like using when, like a director comes in and says, hey, we got to make things bigger. How can we make it bigger? A lot of times just adding references that everyone knows in your shot to kind of show the scale. For example, if you put like a human being right here, my eye would automatically see it. Like if I see a human walking around on this right here, I'd be like, holy cow, this thing is huge. I mean, look at how small that guy is. So sometimes having elements that people know like the scale of, if you put in your scene, it makes things much bigger. That's why little textures are good. And just some tips that I picked up over the years. I mean, that definitely helps to sell that, like the bigness. I don't even know if that's a word, but anyway, you get the idea. You want to make things look big. In this case, we're just going to drop it low. All right, so we have the camera, we have everything modeled. The next thing to do would be the light. And we're just going to use this one light that we already have. So to do that, we're going to go into final render here. It's probably a good time to save. I'm going to press Control, let's see, save copy. There you go. We're going to save it. All right, that's good enough. Blender is known for crashing sometimes, so I'm going to save. All right, so we're in the render mode here, and we can move around the light. It's beautiful. You can see we can kind of light things in, but with this light right here is just a point light, and it's not that good for what I want. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change it. I'm going to go into light options right here. We're going to change it to area light, and we're going to change the shape to ellipse. And we're going to say for X, we're going to make it something like 20. And for Y, we're going to make it 5. Now, when you make things bigger, like the shape of the light, it becomes less bright because it kind of spreads the light throughout the whole shape. So you want to crank this up a bit. So I'm going to say like 1200. And I'm not just throwing that number. I already tried it and it looked like it's a good number. Now, obviously, it's looking over here. It's kind of all messed up. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select this, and we're going to reset location, press Alt-G. And then Alt-R to reset rotation. So it's right there. We're going to move here to about, let's see, 3. I'm going to select it. Sometimes it's easier to do it here. So 3 on Y, and let's go 3 on Z as well. Okay, now I also want to kind of rotate this right here to kind of look at that. So I'm going to set it to like 25. And the reason why, because I want to hit those highlights right here. Okay, so that's not bad. And by the way, let's adjust some lighting or some settings, render settings in our scene. So we're going to go to this icon right here, and you want to make sure that the render engine is set to Eevee. Now, by default, it usually is, but if it's not, make sure you set it to Eevee, and then ambient occlusion, let's add that in. Just we'll add some shadows and stuff. That's good. Let's see what else. Screen space reflections, we're going to turn that on, and shadows. Now, usually I would just leave it at default. I mean, you can crank it up to maybe this, but if you have it set to like 64, notice shadows just looking very pixelated, but you can crank it up more and then it looks better. And the thing about that, obviously the bigger the number, it might take a bit longer to render. So I'm going to leave it at what it is now. That's fine. Indirect lighting, we're going to play with that here shortly. Film, we're going to set it to transparent, because if you're going to have any transparency, like we will in this, you want to make sure you have it set, because if you don't, even if you render it as a PNG with an alpha channel, you'll still have this gray background. But if you set it to transparent, boom, everything's transparent where it should be, which is great. So that's awesome. And by the way, hold on. Yeah, that's good. Let's keep going. Now, color management. By default, it's set to filmic right here. And filmic is great, but I look at filmic as like a raw, if you do like any kind of camera, like if you take pictures of stuff, I mean, you can set it up to like a raw format. Well, filmic kind of gives you that raw format. You can adjust things, but in this case, I like to set it, anytime I do kind of motion graphic stuff, I mean, standard works great because it kind of figures things out for you. It crushes the whites and basically it gives you that contrasty look that I really love. So before, I mean, you can't really see it right now, but if I had color in there, you would see big difference. You can see it's kind of like foggy, but when you set it to standard, boom, it becomes very contrasty. And I love that because now the highlights are very bright and we have some gradient going on here. So that's good. Now let's go back to the light here. I'm going to select this light and notice I'm not getting a good shadow in here. So I'm going to go to light here and let's go to shadow. I want to make sure this contact shadows is checked. Boom. Yeah, that looks much better. Obviously, Eevee is a gaming engine, so it's not like a Cycles. It's more of a direct lighting. It's pretty basic, but I'm just amazed what you can do with Eevee because there's so many things you can fake but the render time is what's so amazing. I mean, it takes a couple seconds to render one frame, something that takes a couple minutes to render in like Cycles. So the beautiful thing about Cycles, obviously, when you light things, light kind of bounces around. Like this is too harsh, right? When you do global illumination, GI, obviously, it will kind of like hit off the surfaces. It will light things up in here. But you can kind of fake that with Eevee too, and by using like something like a light probe. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So let's make sure the 3D cursor is in the center of our scene. Press Shift S, and then cursor to 3D world. And then we're going to do this. We're going to press Shift A. We're going to go to Light Probe, and we're going to click on this Irradiance Volume. Boom. When you do that, it drops it in the center. It's a little cube here, but we can adjust the size of it. Like how much of it do you want to be affected? So we want it to be something like 6, like this. That's probably overkill. And you can be more, you can go over here and select it and, make things like adjust the resolution and get it like super awesome. But I'm going to keep it at basic because I don't think I need it that much. I mean, it's going to be so fast. What I have right now is perfect. But what this does is amazing because now we can go over here to render settings and we can go to, let's go to indirect lighting. So you can bake this. Now watch this. Let me press 0, or you can press the tilt key and go to view camera. So this is what we're looking at here. Let me hide this. All right, so as you can see right now, we have like a lot of harsh shadows in here. Not much light is bouncing around and we don't have that GI look. But if I click on this bake indirect lighting, watch this. It's gonna take a second. Right away, you can see, I mean, it's done, that it lights it differently. I mean, it's amazing. And so in a way, it kind of gives you that GI look and it's super awesome. I'm gonna get rid of it right now. We're gonna do it at the very end. I just wanna show you that you can do it because, if you have textures in there, also balance the color and everything, so it's gonna look nice. So we're gonna do that at the end. I just want to show you that option. All right, I think we're done with the lighting. Next, let's do some materials. So let's do this. Here's what I want to do first. I'm gonna select all of these. So I'm gonna shift select, or just select one of these. Press Shift G. And click on collection. So it's going to select everything in that collection. That's good, which is 4 items. And then I'm going to shift select these other ones as well. So we have all of them selected. I'm going to press tab to go into object mode. I'm going to press A to make sure all of my faces are selected. If you are not in face mode, make sure you are in face mode. And then I'm going to press U to UV unwrap everything. So I'm going to say, let's do cube projection. So not much has happened, but trust me, things did happen. There are things that are going on right now in the background. So, but we're going to leave it as is. We're just going to unwrap it, cube projection. That's perfect. I'm going to press tab to get out of it. So we're done. That's all we need to do. Now we're going to do this. But actually, before we do that, before we do materials, right now we have a problem, because if I select this object and if I press R, if I rotate it and press Z on Z, which is what we're going to be doing, notice my text right now is not going with my cube, and that's a problem. So we need to parent it to that. And to do that, I'm going to select this and then shift select that one right here. So the text you select first, and whatever you want to parent to, you want to select last. Okay, so we have both of them selected, and then I'm going to press Control P, and I'm going to say object, parent to object. Boom. So now when I select this object right here, and if I press R and Z, notice it's working quite well. We'll do the same thing for that as well. So this, shift select that. So this will be the child of this object, press Control P, and then object. So let's double check. Let's select this, press R, and then Z. Yeah, that's good. I want to make sure we don't forget to do that. Okay, so now we're going to add our flag to this object right here. And for that, I'm going to go into this preview mode. Just, I don't want Blender to crash because I have so much going on right now. I have the screen capture, and so we're going to go in that one so it doesn't have to worry about, doing all that extra stuff. All right, so in the material preview world, obviously it's not going to be the exact result, but we can see our materials. So we're going to select this, press tab to go into edit mode, and make sure you are in the face mode, press 3, and then we're going to select the front face right here. We're going to go to materials, and in here, we're going to do this. So we're going to add another material. So we already have this material. By the way, let me get out of this. I'm going to press tab. So right now, because we had this cube, it already had a default material at the beginning called material, and it is white, which is exactly what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and just rename it white. Okay, so we're going to be using this material for everything because everything already has that except few things. So the text doesn't have it because it's not assigned. So we're going to select the text and assign the white to it. And then select Italy, assign this white to it as well. I think the floor, yeah, the floor doesn't have it either. So you want to make sure that everything has that white texture. Okay, so now we're going to select this, and we're going to go into the object mode or edit mode, press tab and select this face. And then we're going to create a new slot. So click on this plus, we have a new one. And this time we're going to create a new texture, boom. And we're going to call this one, obviously, remember this one is home. So we're going to call this one home flag. Okay, this is going to be Ukrainian flag. All right, then after you've done that, we're going to hit assign. You want to assign this material, select it to this face. All right, so now here's what I want to do. I'm going to press tab to get out of it. And we're going to just hover your mouse right over here and click and drag. We're going to create a different layout. So in here, we're going to go here. I'm going to click on shader editor. So click on that. Now we are in the shader editor. So this is what our home flag material looks like. Okay, you can adjust things in here. You can also adjust it in here as well. But I like, adjusting things in here because it is node-based. It's so much easier. Now we're going to add a texture to this. And the texture is going to be attached to the color here. But before you do that, you want to make sure that you have an add-on enabled called Node Wrangler. It's an add-on, not a plugin. I called it a plugin years ago, and people gave me a hard time about that. So it's not a plugin, it's an add-on. And to do that, you just go to Edit Preferences and Add-ons. And in here, just search for, you can kind of select all of them and search for Node Wrangler. So it's this right here, Node Wrangler. And by the way, we're also going to be using another add-on called Animation, right here, Animation Nodes. And it's not, you will not find it in here. So you have to actually go to a website that Jacques, this is a guy that created this. He's super awesome. I got to meet him in Amsterdam and back in 2018 when I went to IBC in Amsterdam. Super awesome guy. I got to meet everyone at Blender. It was super exciting. But you have to actually go to his website and you have to download it. The link to it is at the bottom of this video. So click on it, download it, and then you have to click on install and install it that way. So just so you know, Node Wrangler is what you need and animation nodes. All right, once you've done that, you can save and just save preferences and you're good to go. All right, the reason why I say that you need Node Wrangler because to add a texture, you can do it quickly. You can just select this and press Control T. And when you do that, it will add all these extra nodes. Super awesome. And notice we already have one in here. So the way it works, it basically has a node that grabs like a UV from whatever object you're in. Then it has a mapping node and a texture node. So mapping node allows you to move on X, Y, and Z in rotation or position or rotation. Yeah, basically you can move your texture around. So you load the texture, you can move it around, you attach to UVs. But if you can do it quickly with Control T, but if you didn't have that option, you have to find it physically. You have to go here and find it and then set this thing up. It's so much easier to do that this way. All right, so we're gonna load up. We're gonna click on open. We're gonna go to rasters here. By the way, these are available to download. There's assets you can download by going to the description of this video. I'm gonna use Ukraine. And again, the reason why I used Ukraine and Italy, because look how easy it is to create it. And plus Italy has different colors. So I wanted to have something that kind of hit all the colors. Well, all right, so we're gonna select Ukraine, press open, and there you go. It applies it right there. We're gonna do some options in here. By the way, let's go back to render. Yeah. So right now, here's what I want to do. We're going to go to roughness, which is reflection, right? We're going to click and put it all the way to the bottom. And basically, it will make it like a mirror. If you go further, then it makes it more blurry. But the reason why I wanted like a mirror, because look, we see nice little highlight in here. Great. That's going to work wonders for us. It just makes things look much better in motion graphics. Then we're going to crank up on specular tint. Watch this. If I crank up on this, it's just going to be more vivid and saturated. If you go too far, it's going to be more blue. But I still want to have more of a washed out look, but I want for that blue to pop out. So that's good. That's all I'm going to do for that. So we have the Ukrainian flag. We're going to go over here and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to create another slot and we're going to use Ukrainian flag as the starting point, but we're going to click on this icon to create a new one, to make it basically duplicate it. So now it's a separate material. It label it something else. We can call this one away flag. And now in here, we can just select this, right, and go over here and just load an Italian flag. Boom. Now, obviously you can see that not much has happened because we need to go into edit mode, press tab to go into edit mode, select this front face, and then select the away flag and hit assign. And now it works. So we're going to press tab to get out of the edit mode. And we have Ukrainian and Italian flag. Yeah, it's looking great. So notice that reflection looks nice. It's going to look nice in our animation here, especially when it's animated left, like up and down. It's going to give just more things to kind of look at. It's going to give you that parallax kind of look. Okay, so we have that. Let's do some textures for this and those objects in here as well. We're going to add some color. So let's do that. We're going to select this object right here and we're going to press tab. And so obviously we have a lot of faces here. Make sure you are in the face mode. We're going to select this front face. We're going to go and create a new slot for another material. We're going to say new material. We're going to call this one home color. Okay, we're going to hit assign to assign it to this. Obviously, not much is happening, but we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go over here. We are in a home color material. We're going to select this, press Control T to add that, all those extra nodes. Again, Node Wrangler is important for this. Make sure you have it installed. But instead of this image texture, I want to use a texture node. So I'm going to select this, press Shift S to switch it. So we're going to switch it to texture called brick texture. I love using that one. Super awesome. So I'm going to press tab to get out of the object or edit mode into the object mode. And notice this is what it did. Okay, that's good, but we're not done yet. So we're going to go over here, scale. We're going to scale it up to 15. So you can see it looks much smaller. Then on width, we're going to go all the way to 100. So it gives us nice little lines here. You can actually adjust the colors. You can say, hey, on this, we're going to say 0.9. And here we're going to say 0.5. So it's like in the middle right there. And black, we don't want to go all the way black. Let's go something like 0.1. Okay. So those are the colors that I picked, but you don't have to hold on to them. All right. So we have something here, but it doesn't have any color. I want to have like the blue color right here. So to do that, we're going to use a node and we're going to press Shift A to bring in a new node, or you can go to add. It's the same concept as it is in here, right? To bring an object, you go to add or Shift A. Well, it's the same thing in here as well. So Shift A, we're going to search. We're going to say mix. Oops, mix RGB. Boom, we're going to put it right here. So we want to multiply. That's good. And we want to get the color from the Ukrainian flag. So to do that, we're going to split this right now. And we're going to load this. Let's go UV editor. and we're going to load a Ukrainian flag. Boom. All right, so we're going to go over here for this color. We're going to say, hey, we're going to pick this blue. And obviously, I mean, it's kind of working. It's slightly blue, but we just need to crank it up all the way. Yeah, that's good. Now remember, we're going to do the same stuff as we did for the flag. We're going to go over here. We're going to adjust the specular to 0.5, specular tint, and then roughness, we're going to take it all the way to 0 so we can get that same reflection right here. After that, we're pretty much done with that. We're going to push, well, no, we're going to hold on to this because we need to do the same thing for the Italian flag. So I want to apply this, well, this material to that and that object as well. So we're going to select this one and then shift select that one and then shift select this one. So whatever you want to grab the material from, you want to select it last. And once you've done that, then press Control L and we're going to make links. We're going to say based on materials. Boom. When you do that, it actually applies it, but we need to do this. We're going to press Tab to go into edit mode. Make sure you are in face mode. We're going to select the front face of this one, shift select the front face of that one. So we have both of them selected. And then here we're going to select home color and click on assign. Yeah, press Tab to get out of it. It's looking good. Yeah, I love it. So we're going to do the same thing for Italy. And it's the same repetitive concept, right? Just select this. We're going to create, well, let's do this actually. So we're going to select this and shift select that. And we're going to say, let's do Control L, make links. We're going to say material. And we're going to say, select this, press Tab, select the face, assign based on home color material. Boom. So it assigns it. So that's it, right? We already have everything created. And we're going to select this material. And we're going to select this font, right? Or this material. And then in here, we're going to make a duplicate of it, create a new one, right? It creates a new that's identical to the other one, but it's a different one. So we can rename this one to away color. Okay. And then in here, we just need to change the color. That's it. So we're going to switch this from Ukraine to Italy. And let's go over here and change this blue to green. Yeah, that's really it. And now, I'm going to select this one, shift select that one, and then shift select this one. And we're going to make links, press Control L. We're going to say materials, press Tab. We're going to select these front faces, shift select both of them, select this material and hit assign. Boom. And really, that is it. I mean, it's that easy. You can see everything works well. We're going to click here and just push it back in. And let's push. Well, we're going to leave this for animation. All right. Let me kind of extend it just slightly. So yeah, it's looking really good. I like it. Everything's looking great. Yeah, we're done with materials. We're done with modeling. And the next step would be animation. And we're going to be talking about animation nodes. Now, again, make sure you install animation nodes. That thing is awesome. Jacques did an amazing job. So to do that, we're going to push this down. I'm going to go back to animation nodes. For some reason, for me, don't work when I'm in the final render. So I need to go to something like material preview. And I love this one because you can pick, well, you can't see it. You can pick different kind of HDRIs and stuff. So it's great. I mean, we can work with something different. That looks terrible. Let's go back to that. That's probably good. Let me push this back in here. All right. So animation nodes, make sure you are in the material preview mode, and we're going to go and switch it to animation nodes. Here you go. So in here, we're going to create a new node tree, and we're going to call this one animation. Okay. So now here's what let me kind of walk you through what we want to do. So I want to rotate, like animate these, I guess, objects to where they rotate in one by one. Now, what I don't want to do, I don't want to go into each one and rotate, set the keyframes and then set the keyframes for the other one. That would take a very long time to do. So that's where animation nodes come in very, very handy. And for that, we're just going to bring in a node called collection info. So I'm going to press Control A, or you can go to add and search for it. Search for it like that. You can press Shift A, click on search, or you can press Control A. I like that one much better. We're going to call or search for collection or info. That's what it is. Boom, we have collection info. And basically we're going to say, hey, what do we want from here? We want either away or home. So let's work with away first. We're going to say away. Okay. Well, then what? Well, before we do that, we actually need to do this. We're going to select this one, shift select that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one, and those, and what the heck, let's do the text as well. I'm going to move this over here. So once you have them selected, you need to press N key, or just click on this, or N. Basically, we need to, well, let's just do this. We're going to click on that, and we're going to go to AN, animation nodes, and in here, while you have them selected, you want to click on from current transforms. When you do that, it kind of sets it. It's very important that you do that because it kind of, I guess, redefines the initial points. So it's very important because now we have the collection info. We're calling for the away collection, this collection, all the objects in that. That's why it's important to put things in collection. And then we're going to press Control A again. We're going to search for object matrix output right here. So we're going to go to objects to here. Boom. You can see it kind of puts everything to the center. Now, the reason why we did this here, let me hide it. Okay, now we can search for Control A. We're going to search for ID, object ID key. Okay, so in here, we're going to say initial transforms. That's what we did there. Right now, we can say, okay, let's take this objects and connect the matrix. Boom. So now it takes it back to where it was. So that's good. Well, we're not done yet. And this is not as hard as, I mean, a lot of people are intimidated by animation nodes, but if you kind of walk yourself through it, it's not that difficult. So now we need to offset these objects. We're going to look for Control A, offset matrices. Okay, right here, boom. And we're going to do it based on rotation, right? We're going to do it based on Z right here. So we're going to say like what, -90, I think. So we're going to be animating like this. Now, obviously, I don't want to be animating all of them. So we need some kind of a fall off object. And to do that, you can just press, well, Shift A, and you can go to, let me put my, there you go, video in here. So press Shift A, and we're going to go to fall off. Where is it at? Right here. And we're going to select this object controller. I want to do it based on an object. So we're going to do this, but obviously we need to have an object that will do the fall off. So we don't have that object yet. So let's create it. Now our 3D cursor is in the center of our scene. We're going to press, let's do Shift A. We're going to bring in another empty, this one. And actually, let's change it to plain. Yeah, that one. And we're going to crank this up. Well, actually, no, that's not that one. Let's do arrows. Yeah, this is good. So something like that, maybe like 3. That's good. So here it is. That's the object we're going to use. It's actually in the away. I'm going to move it out of it into, let's move it into scene objects. So it's right there. We're going to double click on it. We're going to call this one fall off controller. Okay. So now we have the object and we're going to define it in here. So once you have it selected, we can click on this eyedropper and it puts it right there. Perfect. Then we can say, let's do offset width like 10. And instead of linear, we're going to do this quintic. I'm not sure how to say it, but that's what I'm going to go with. And we wanted to do fall off, basically easing on the beginning and out. So in and out. So we're going to select both of them. Okay, so we have it in here. Obviously, not much is happening. Let me undo this. Because we need to connect this one to this. Now watch what happens. Boom. Let's see. Obviously, it's doing something already. But if I move on this object, you can see it's giving us something really cool here. So it offsets things for us. It's beautiful. So we don't have to animate every single object. We can just use this object right here. So now to do the same thing for the home team is quite simple. We're just going to select all of them right here. Select all of these, not that one. We're going to press Shift D to duplicate and just put them right here somewhere. It's the same thing, just duplicated, right? But instead of away, we're going to say we want home this time, and we're going to link it up to that fall off as well. Now we need to go in the opposite direction. So we're going to say, instead of -90, we're going to say 90. And that's it. That's all you have to do. I know it seems complicated when you look at it, but it's really not that bad if you look at it. I mean, you can organize. You can see it's the same stuff. Just repeat it. And a lot of times when you look at animation nodes, you see a bunch of nodes, you're like, oh my gosh, this sounds and looks so complicated. But a lot of times people do what I do. They just duplicate things and it just looks intimidating, but it's not. Okay, so now we can select this object and animate things. Beautiful. So let's do that. I mean, we're not far from this. So we're going to go and let's go to animation tab. It'd be perfect for this. And let's do this. So move this out of the way. Okay, so now we have this. That's what camera sees. This is what we see here. We're gonna go and set a keyframe. Let's go like on the Z. We're gonna select the controller and we're gonna be moving this. We're gonna set it to 0 at first. Well, let's see. Actually, let's set it to 10. Well, no, let's do -10. Okay, something's off. So let me try this. The beautiful thing of doing this live. So something is off. Now, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this inverted because I want to, well, no, forget this. Let's see. So it's 0 if I push this up. Yeah, either way, it doesn't matter. Let's try this. All right, so if I push this up to something like 11, we'll see everything. That's good. So I want it to be at 0 at first. So 0 is our starting point. And I'm going to set a keyframe right here. Now, before I do that, I also want to set the start right here to 0 and end to 120. That's our animation. So it's going to go between 0 and 120. And I also want to go over here to animation settings right here. We're going to set obviously 0 to 20 and frame rate. We're going to set this to 30. That's good. That sounds good. Okay, so first frame is going to be at 0 is going to be 0, right? Fall off is set on Z 0. Then we're going to go to like 40. And we're going to set this somewhere. Well, let's go down. Yeah, -0 or -11 and set a keyframe. So let's see. Yeah, that's good. Watch this. Boom. And it's set. And then we're going to go to, let's do 90 right about here. And we're going to set the same keyframe. So it's going to stay static all the way through. And from 90, it's going to go to 120 to back to 0. So let's see what that looks like. Boom. And then boom. Now we're adjusting right here in the dope sheet. We're just doing like a keyframes. But if you want to adjust the curves and stuff, you just hover over this area, press Control Tab. And now we can see what, if you press the home key, you can see the entire animation. Now you can see what the curves are doing. And honestly, I don't need all these curves in here. Like I can just keep it linear because we already have the easing happening in our animation. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to press T, or you can just right click. I believe it's interpolation mode and click on linear. When you do that, it's going to make everything linear. So yeah, it's looking good for me. Perfect. Okay. So the next thing, what we need to do, we already have everything animating. Now we need to animate the camera. And to do that, we're going to select our, right here, camera control. Do you remember that null that we created? And we're going to animate this. So to do that, we're going to go to the first, frame 0, and we're going to set it at 71. Set a keyframe. So at 71, it's at the very top or bottom. It's at the bottom. And then we're going to go to about frame 30. We're going to set it to 30. Set a keyframe. I'm going to press Control Tab to see the dope sheet. So we have first one. It kind of does this. Then we're going to go to 100. We're going to set a keyframe at 20. Set a keyframe because I want to have slight kind of animation going on so we can see that nice reflection going across. Okay, and then at 120, we're going to set it at 70 or -71. We're going to go to the very top. So it's going to go like this. And then it's going to have, obviously it's not moving. We're going to adjust the curves here in a second. And then it's going to boom animate out. So that's perfect. In fact, let's go to the final render here. So we have boom. And then we can see nice little reflection, but we're not seeing it right now. It's okay. So now we need to go to the curves. So we're going to hover over this, press Control Tab. And now we see, well, we don't see anything, but press A to select everything. Press Home key on your keyboard. And then you can see all of them. Or you can just kind of move it around and adjust it, but Home key does the trick. So here's what we need to do. We need to kind of clean things up in here. So I want to have a straight line going from this point to that point. And the trick that I picked up working at Fox, I just did it all the time. I'm not sure if it's the right way to do it, but I do it all the time because it's so much easier. So if I want to line up this with that, I just kind of select this one, hit scale, and select this, press R, and kind of position it, R for rotation, kind of position it to where it's touching this keyframe. And then you just press S and scale it back. Again, it's just my way of working. I'm going to select this again, hit S to scale, and then press R to rotate it. Press S to scale and kind of push it back here somewhere. That's something that I picked up. It's probably a bad habit, but it gives you a nice clean rotation, right? But obviously we want to smooth this out. The reason why curves are so awesome, you can see how your animation is looking like. This is too rough. I can select this, press S, and scale it and push it all the way to the edge. So now it's going to have a more of a smooth exit, yeah. And then in here, we can kind of push it back. I remember Chris at Fox would give me a hard time about this because he would always keep it linear, but I kind of like having a little curve. Like I wanted to kind of have quickness in here and kind of snappy animation, and just a preference, but yeah, anyway. So we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna smooth this out. We're gonna select this, hit S and scale it all the way to the edge so it's more of a smooth animation. Select this, select this right here, handle, scale it to about 20 right here. So we have more of a smooth, let's see what that looks like right here. So you can see it kind of snaps into that like that. That's good. It stays rotating and then boom. I don't know what it is about motion graphics, but like in motion graphics, you want things to be rotating or moving all the time. It's kind of like a comedian. If a comedian tells a joke and nobody's laughing, or if comedian's talking and nobody's laughing, then that comedian is probably nervous. Well, the same thing with motion graphics. If I'm animating something and nothing is, and I have something that doesn't have any kind of animation, it makes me nervous. And that's why it's always good to have some kind of secondary animation, whether it be that, and then the shadow, you can see the shadows moving across. You want to have secondary animations. It makes things more appealing, I guess. Okay, now we are done with the animation. We are done with just about everything. The only thing we're not done yet with some compositing. And before we do that, I do want, because right now it's not transparent. Like I want the top and the bottom to be transparent. And there's a cool material. I'm going to go back to main layout. We're going to push this. Well, we're going to keep it as is for right now. But there's a cool thing you can do with this. You can actually make this face right here and you can make it transparent. You can select this, press tab, and you can select the face, select this top face right here. And you can go to material, and we're going to create a new slot, and we're going to create a new material. We're going to call this one hold out. And then right here, instead of principled, we're going to set it to hold out right here. Boom. And again, you want to make sure you select this and hit assign. When you do that, watch this. This is so cool about this. I'm going to press tab to get out of the edit mode, but this thing becomes transparent. Well, make sure we do have transparent checked. Let's double check here. Yeah, so everything should be transparent. Yeah, you can see it is transparent. So that is transparent. This one is transparent. So we're seeing through it and it's beautiful. So now when you press 0 to go into camera view, this will be transparent. Oh, the reason why it's not transparent right now, because we're not in the final render. But in the final render, yeah, I was a little nervous. I'm like, where's the checkers? All right, so as you can see, it's transparent. The beautiful thing about it, it basically makes everything transparent. Like you can see that wall is not even visible. It cuts through everything, which helps you, it skips a lot of steps in compositing. I mean, look at this. If I press 0 and go to the camera view, we're starting from right here, transparent still, which is great. And then boom, we get into this, and then we get back into transparent. Okay, that's it. So technically you can render this out, and but we're gonna do some more things. Remember, we had this light probe. We're gonna select this, and we're gonna go back into indirect lighting. We're gonna bake it. So let's click on bake. And so now it looks much better. It looks more appealing. That's great. Make sure color management is set to standard. All right, so that's good. Now we're gonna do some compositing. And thank you so much for sticking with me. I know that this is a bit long, but I just wanna show you the entire process. A lot of time I edit stuff out, but you need to see my struggles. I wanna show you how I work, and sometimes it's not the best, but it is what it is. We're gonna go to compositing tag right here, and we're gonna click on use nodes. When you do that, you'll see nodes. And the cool thing about the node wrangler, you can actually see what you're working on here without searching for the viewer node. You can just press Control Shift and click. When you do that, it automatically creates this viewer. And the beautiful thing about that, if you press F12, or if you go to render, it's the same thing. Render image F12. When you click on it, will render a new image. This is what it looks like right now. I mean, it's looking decent, right? based on whatever frame we were on, 29, we can go to 60 and press F12 again. And this is what it gives us. Nice. You can see everything's looking great. But now notice we can also see it in this compositing area. But I'm going to do this. We're going to go to Viewer, and we're going to tell it to fit. Okay, we're going to hide this. Press N to hide this, or you can click on that. But anyway, so now we're seeing right here, this is the final render. And notice we have image. So this node right here, render layers, is basically a node that allows us to pull different, I guess, we call it render passes in Cinema 4D, but I guess it's like passes from that scene. And we are in this scene right here. Notice it's calling this scene by default because that's where we are. But you can actually go over here to layers and you can add more to this list. Right now we have alpha and depth, but we can actually add more. We can add light diffuse, and you can play with this. You can see what that looks like, but you have to press F12 to render it, right? And then that's what light diffuse looks like. So you get the idea. You can add on more options in here that you can later use in your composite and kind of play with things. Essentially, this area right here allows you to do what you would normally do in something like After Effects. So you can composite things in here. So that's what we're going to do here. And this node viewer is whatever you attach to it. Like right now, the final render image is attached to it. And because of that, we see it in here. Now, just because it's attached to the viewer doesn't mean when you press render that's what you'll see. For example, let's add this light again, diffuse. Let's attach it to the viewer. As you can see, it is attached to the viewer, but if I press F12, we will see the final render. Because I'm telling you this just so you know, you need to make sure that you attach the final result to this composite, because that's what's going to be rendered. Because if I, attach this to that and then the final viewer or the final image to this and press F12, it will render the opposite. It will render this right here and push it to that. Anyway, too much information, I get it, but I'm going to connect image to this and image to that. So you want to stay consistent, make sure you do it. Boom. All right. So now here's what I want to do. I'm going to do some curves. We're going to adjust some, we're going to brighten up the whites and crush the blacks. So we're going to press Shift A and we're going to search for, just click on search. We're going to search for curves. And we're going to use this RGB curves. We're going to just, do the classic S curve. We're going to push on this sum and that sum, something like that is good. So as you can see, it kind of gave me more of a contrasty look. And for some reason, motion graphics, we just love contrast. It pops so much better. Okay, then we're going to do one more thing. I'm going to use a lens distortion node. Press Shift A. We're going to look for lens distortion. And this one's pretty cool. So we're going to set it to fit. And we're going to crank on distortion. We're going to say 0.5 or 0.5. So it kind of makes it like a wide angle lens. That's, again, makes it bigger. It kind of adds some nice curves around here. It's not so flat and rigid, but it's more curvy. That's good. And then we're going to add some distortion around like here. Right now, these lines are too harsh, but I want to kind of blurry everything out so that this pops more. And to do that, we're just going to crank this number right here to 0.04. So you can see it kind of crushed it a bit. It kind of gave us a nice little look that I like. And really, that's it. Now, you want to make sure that you push the final result to this and that. And make sure, okay, everything's looking good. Now, the other thing you want to do, because the alpha channel, so if we go to like frame 18, let's press F12. Let's see what that looks like. So notice we're seeing, well, make sure the alpha channel. So if I push the alpha channel to here and also there, I'm going to press F12. So see, look, we see the alpha channel, but notice right here, it's kind of like messed up. And the reason why, like right here, it's messed up, because we need for the alpha channel to also go through this lens distortion. We need for it to be distorted. So we're going to Shift D and duplicate it and just place it right here. And we're going to attach it to both this one and that alpha, right? So now notice it fixed it. So if I press F12, you can see it's working. So you just want to make sure that, because it makes sense. You're distorting the image and you want to make sure that the alpha channel gets distorted too. So I know it looks complicated, but it really isn't. So that's it. Let's go back to like frame 60, maybe 61, press F12. So this is what it looks like. Let me move this out of the way. And yeah, and so now all you need to do is render this thing, and it's quite easy. You can just go to the render setting, well, right here, this tab. You, again, make sure 1920, 1080, all that is good. Frame start 0 to 120, 30 frames per second. And right here, you would just tell it where you want to render. You can just click here and navigate over to something like this, where's the tutorial renders. Press accept. You want to call this one like a matchup. Bumper. Press accept. And then you want to set it to RGBA. You do want to set it to RGBA because A is the alpha, and we do have the alpha in this animation. So you want to make sure you have that. PNG is fine. Everything looks good. And then when you're done, you just press either Control F12 or the same thing. You can go to render and render animation. And that is it. That's how we create a matchup bumper in Blender. And I want to thank you for watching this very long video. I want to say a huge thank you from all of us here. And also, if you want to support what we do, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can like this video. You can also download the project file from this tutorial. It is $5, but you'll be supporting what we do here. But again, thank you for your time. But in the meantime, my name is Sergei, and this is ukramedia.com.